Okay, I'm going to talk about inserting images. It's one of the most common and kind of frustration-fraught things in most content management systems is inserting and utilizing images in the system. I have two ways that you can get to images in the system, and well, actually, there are three ways if you also consider the design elements UI that's back here, but I'm not going to talk about that here right now. I'm just going to talk about stuff that's in the framework or in the CMS itself. So, you know, you have these different types of visual assets that you can utilize in the system. You can have image, audio, video, or document assets, and they're all managed in the same way. They're uploaded the same way. They are actually in the same table, but they're segregated by type, so that when you go to the image assets, you don't see everything. You just see images that are in the assets table, right? And they have their own views. They have their own, rules, all that. We discussed in a previous video permissions. All of these things can have permissions assigned to them. Of course, permissions, if you go to inserting stuff in content in pages, it's just a path to an image. There's no way that you can protect it or keep it private. The only way that you can do that is to simply you could use htaccess rules to close off access to those folders, and then use them as inserted items as blocks, and then you could get around if you really had to have a system where you role protected absolutely images so they can't even be found by what do they call it, security by obscurity. If something has a path and you can put the path in there and find it, some hacker will find it. They'll find a way to get to it. And you can actually get around that by using htaccess rules to close off directories from public browsing, right? And then use the system to insert blocks that have the content inserted into them so that they're protected and they're delivered by the system and the system's permissions and the system's access. Okay, so that's actually a subject for a different day, but okay, inserting images. So I have basically two ways that you can do this. You see here how I've given these things a keyword of page content and thumbnail. If you give something a thumbnail content tag, it automatically builds a thumbnail for that thing, right? When you save it, it goes off and it builds a thumbnail of the image that then is accessible to the page level as a page thumbnail, right? So if we go to, as I know this is in the page list and it's got a thumbnail I assigned to it, right? They will show up here. Any thumbnails in the system, you'll be able to select them. Don't get crazy with thumbnails because, if you have hundreds and hundreds of thumbnails, this little list gets kind of hard to manage. Now, the other way that you can get to these things is at the HTML level. If you need to insert images, you can select here, go to this thing and say insert image, and then you can put any remote URL to an image right here, right? Or you can use a system-based image by simply using this little image icon. Once you've focused, you have to focus on the field and get to this tool right here. And guess what? It brings up images in the system that have been uploaded into the system, so you don't have to understand the path to them, right? And you can filter for these. So if I've got one that's got a particular keyword on it that I know how to find it, then I can do that. And of course you can page through this list just like you do for anything else. So I'm going to double click this guy and bingo, it inserted in the page. right? And then you can use your alignment tools to align it however you want to align it, and it'll insert it at a standard size of I think I've got them set to 200 pixels wide, however big the image is, and then you can resize it as you need to. You simply, and you can drag it around where you need it to be in the page, or realign it, or what have you. That's one way to do it. The other way is in layouts, and I tried real hard to get this part of the thing working here, and I just couldn't. It's very difficult to, all these things have, each one of these sections has a separate ID, a separate zone, and all that in it, and I couldn't figure out how to make the tool that I have over in the layout section pull page content images. That is on the to-do list. So let me go there again, look at image assets, and you notice how I've got things marked as page content. So if I go to layouts, and I just go here, or actually, I'm sorry, it doesn't work here, it works under blocks. So if you need to create block content, so let me go here, small header. This other insertion tool works here. If you go to the block code, there's only this one block area. A block doesn't let you divide it. It doesn't have a grid manager. So I know what the idea of this thing is. And if you go here and select the image deal and say choose, it lets you choose any image that's in the system that's marked as page content or available as page content. And I'd really like to get this insertion tool hooked up to pages. It's on the to-do list, and hopefully I'll get there. But in either case, you have ways of getting images into pages and formatting them, resizing them, doing all that pretty easily and pretty straightforward here. Okay, that's it for images.